Oh, perfect, Nick. Remove them right away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NFT Morning Show. We run this show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, each and every week, where we discuss all things NFTs, the crypto markets, finance, entertainment, gaming, technology, and everything in between. I'm your host, Pio, here with my co-host, Nifty Nick, funniest man in the business, King Kicks, the CEO of Crypto Raiders. Seems like they have some incredible shit coming out in the near future. Easy Eats Bodega, the host of GM Market Talk, among other shows rising in popularity in the Web3 space, the founder of Bodogos, soon to hit a blockchain near you. Signal, the host of the Artist Spotlight series, still in its infancy, but growing every single day. Very, very exciting vertical for Web3 and for the Nifty. Spencer, the founder of Spencer Ventures, representing for institutional capital in the NFT space. He's a big brain. And then, of course, Bunny. Bunny, it doesn't say anything in your bio.
Doesn't say anything, man. Yeah, I'm making breakfast for my wife right now because she's mad at me. I told her to buy a gutter cat like 6 months ago. She lost 20 grand on it, man.
Is that that's what she's specifically mad at you about this morning? Did she just find out how much money she lost or something?
No, I don't know. I just hate the gutter cat gang, and every day I wake up and I think about that. Hit that trade.
All right, a little hatred for the gutter cat gang first thing in the morning. Nifty Nick, how are you doing, amigo?
I'm doing all right there, Pio. I just received my Adidas tracksuit. I don't have the pants on right now. I was going to come fully prepared. I also have the hat that came. I tried it on this morning and realized this is my look. You know, like this is my future. It feels native to me. And I think people of New York will recognize that as well. Let me just tell you, this is the perfect biking outfit because literally no one's going to miss you. You know, like I don't think that they have like security or safety coats for like workers in New York that are like bright green. This is brighter than those coats. So I'm pretty this just feels like it was made for New York, and I'm for one really glad that it finally arrived. You know, when did we claim these 1 year ago?
14 months, dude. Literally 14
months ago?
Yeah. Like 13, 14 months. It was 2021. So it's over a calendar year. You're looking like Nikki Soprano with that tracksuit, let me tell you.
There was a Nikki in the Sopranos, Nikki Soprano?
There is now.
Okay, got it. Nikki Soprano. Okay. Well, I for one am enjoying the style. It's kind of hot. I'm probably going to stop wearing it shortly, but otherwise, pretty good. You know, I posted a little bit of a hot take yesterday, and it made people unfollow me. Made them sad about it.
Did they unfollow? So, ladies and gentlemen, Nick worries about people unfollowing him. I'm 99% sure it's just bots being outed by Twitter's new system because it's happening to everyone. But when it happens to Nick, he just points to a random tweet he put out in the past 24 hours and credits that tweet.
I'm pretty certain that's why.
What was the hot take, Nick?
It was about the artist stuff. I kind of leaned in to the conversation yesterday. Oh, no, I'm down even harder, man. Whew, it's going to be tough to recover from this. It says open editions are a really great way to give millionaire artists more money. And that inflamed people. I got artists replying. I got not collectors replying. And I've been sort of stewing on that as to whether or not that was an appropriate tweet. And the conclusion was yes, it was appropriate. I'm not going to apologize to nobody. And additionally, there is some validity to being like, all right, that's a bad take because there's artists who deserve the money. I agree with that. I agree that there are artists
What does deserve the money mean exactly?
Sorry, I don't know. Have you ever sold a product, Pio? You know, so if you sell a product and people want it, I think that's like deserving. I don't know. I feel like that's the bottom line. So what do you mean? What does it mean? I feel like people sell posters, people sell other things, and people end up buying it. I mean, I think that's like the bottom line. So if you sold it and people bought it, you know, congratulations. I think, and I actually, anything that's negative is more gossip than anything else. And if we're going to lean into that for a moment, the gossip would be, well, where you been the past few months? Like where, like you were sort of MIA, and out of nowhere, here you come, and you're back with some art. But that said, I don't know. I mean, it's like, additionally, if this is a moment and you have the opportunity to do it, you know, you got to, as Eminem says, you got to capture it. Don't let it slip, you know?
Yeah, Nick. I mean, obviously you don't know about Section 179. If you did, you don't understand why, you know, all of this is important timing wise.
Very specific reference there from Kicks. We will move on.
What is that?
It's the tax thing. It's an inside reference. It doesn't matter. We're gonna move on. Signal, how are things going across the pond?
Yeah, across the pond's all good here, man. It's good, man. But the market's in a bit of a weird place at the moment. It feels like everything is sort of like pulling back, and seeing all this action on Kanto kind of just shows you how bored people are, which is pretty funny. And the open edition is very much fizzling out at the moment. So it feels a bit weird. Everyone's sort of looking for the shiny new thing. I guess the shiny new thing is probably Nick's tracksuit, now that I think about it. But apart from that, yeah, market's all right. But I don't know, looking for more action hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, is it a dead cat bounce? Is Michael Berry right? He tweeted sell. So we'll have to see what happens.
Isn't Michael Burry? Is it Burry or Berry?
It's Burry.
Burry.
There you go. Cool. Thanks. Do you know him? Are you friends with Mr. Michael?
We are close. And side note, for those that didn't know, Section 179, we utilized that last year in order to get a car. That was what we did. And what type of car did we get there, Kicks?
A G-Wagon.
A G-Wagon. That's what we got, with all just fully loaded. You know, we took all the company money and got a G-Wagon.
We got a plan.
I hope you Section 179 that Vespa you drive around, because I see that in the media, you know, campaigns all the time.
Pio suggested that.
Kicks. Nick is the funniest guy when it comes to all things like taxes. He's like, you can do that. And then other things, he's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, of course I can write off an e-bike on my business. That's like the most no-brainer write-off. And Nick's like, no. It's just because it's something Nick really wants. So he feels like it would be a guilty thing to write off.
Well, I'm not going to put your tax strategy out there. So we can skip over that, but agree to disagree.
E-bikes aren't transportation, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that's not the debate. The debate is you don't have another business, but you claim you do. So that's what the debate is. But anyways,
I talked to the IRS about that. Well, look, we're gonna get into the market because my LLC is booming, and we got a lot to talk about today.
Are we gonna shout out any audience people, or do we have a question?
Take the lead, buddy. Take the lead.
So no, we don't have a question. All right. So
I have a question. You don't have a question.
Okay.
When you were growing up, who was like the public figure you looked up to? Who did you feel like that's the guy? You know, a lot of 90s kids might say Michael Jordan. A lot of 80s kids might say, you know, Chuck Norris. Who did you look up to? Jean-Claude Van Damme. Probably a lot of athletes. I'm going to pin the tweet to the top. Respond. Who is the public figure that you looked up to when you were growing up? We're curious to hear it. It's also going to be telling. It's going to tell us how old you are a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But
my rich uncle.
There you go. Who is the public figure that you looked up to when you were growing up?
Oh, you just clarified that. Public figure.
I said that like 4 times. So who is the public figure for the 5th time, in case you weren't listening, like one of the hosts of the show, that you looked up to
Jesus
when you were
Christ.
growing up? Who is the public figure? Okay, public. And Nick, please take it away with the introduction of audience members.
Did you is the question up there?
Well, I was just speaking into the mic. I was throwing to you so that I could use my hands to write it right here on my phone, Nick. Please help me out, buddy. Is that
Probably
possible?
the Dalai Lama for me.
The Dalai Lama, are you just making that up?
No, I feel like he inspired me in the 90s.
Mine was probably Monica Lewinsky, just a big public figure.
Okay. That's a tough one. I don't know if I had any people that I looked up to that were like public figures. That was like, I
Well, then
feel
you're a
like
weirdo. I looked up to Michael Jordan. Ever heard of him? I mean, it's a pretty simple response.
Theo's
I
got
feel like
today's
Nick was
show.
a
He can
big-
take it from here. Good luck.
I
to
think
you.
Nick was a big John Elway guy.
Look, Kix, I'm assuming it's Kix's day to run the weather report. So why don't you take it away, and then we'll read the updates from the Nifty Daily Digest and just dive into, what's going on in the market.
Hey, Pia, thanks for kicking it to me. I'd love to go through today's weather report. Today is the first day of February, Wednesday, 2023. Big day today for those of you that don't know. We got the Fed meeting coming up. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Looking over at volume, OpenSea and Blur 9.1 million, lowest volume since December 26th. So that is over a monthly low, below $10 million, also pretty significant. Not too many pullbacks, though. Looking at the leaders, we have Apes at 72, Mutants 15.3, Stablecoin Punk 64.9, Azuki 14.4, Moonbird 7.6, Doodles 6.7, Pudgies holding strong 5.5, CloneX 5.2. Looking at the past 24 hours, open edition starting to fizzle out. So, of course, people got to pump and dump something. They're over on Kanto NFTs or Kanto NFTs, if you prefer to call it that. Sweeps came in on the Kanto long necks from Dingaling, and the floor for some of these collections have seen an easy 2 to 3x. Expect more Kanto talk on the Twitter timeline as influencer accounts continue to talk about them. You can get yourself a Kanto long neck for 8,000 Kanto. If you don't want to do the math, that's about 4,000 US dollars. Doodles 2 collections, the wearables and beta passes, are now available on Gaia Marketplace. Volume for beta passes came in at $13,000, and some of the bigger Doodles wearable sales were, of course, the rainbow joggers for $1,600 and the boxing gloves for $850. Genesis Doodles saw a pullback with duplicators down to 0.6 ETH. Artifact Space Pod burn began yesterday. Holders burn space and loot pods for spaceships. Team faced some FUD on Twitter from previous mistakes made last year, including Monolith 2 and the Shoe Mint. The new Exodus space pods holding a 1.2 ETH floor. That's pretty cheap for a spaceship in my book. Lastly, artist Nest Graphics, who faced FUD over his G-Wagon Instagram post after he made over $2 million on an open edition, pinned to his Twitter that for the rest of the year, the only way to collect his future NFT editions are through burns and airdrops. Floor on the open edition is at 0.06, and his new burn piece, Money Printer Go Burn, is 0.32 ETH. You got to love people gave someone $2 million expecting nothing in return, and then that person bought a G-Wagon and they're mad about it. What did you think? The money was going to charity? Looking over at crypto, Bitcoin 23K, ETH just below 1,600, Solana 23.5, Ape 5.8. So we're raging going into the Fed meeting today. Back to you in the studio, P.O.
Fantastic.
Thanks for letting me do the weather report.
Your tone for the weather report was fascinating right there. But that was awesome. Thank you, Kix. Ladies and gentlemen, some other updates from the Nifty Daily Digest, which is the daily newsletter published. Sign up at thenifty.com, and you're definitely going to want to do that. Wink, wink. That's thenifty.com. I have it pinned to the top. Yuga Labs and lawyer Jeremy Goldman have clarified copyright and IP rights for Bored Ape Yacht Club holders. So we'll have to see how the future kind of pans out for that. Artifact has shared the burn mechanism for pods. Holders will exchange space and loop pods for either exo pods or lux pods. We'll have to hear what Spencer thinks of that, because I know he is very familiar with the Artifact and CloneX ecosystem. Digidaigaku has released a trailer for the quote-unquote world's largest free mint that is happening live during the Super Bowl on February 12th. Another very much so anticipated Super Bowl moment for the NFT space. We'll see if this one is way more significant than last year's. Have to think it will be, because nothing ended up happening last year. Other than that, that's pretty much all of our updates. We already covered the open edition situation, the Doodles situation. That's about it. I will kick off reading some of the responses to the daily question, that we can dive into some of these stories. Sarah Scripps said Jane Goodall, the ape lady. Sarah said loved her so much, and she was obsessed with monkeys as a kid. Tamara7X said Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. Always love how he did his own thing, regardless of what other people thought and said about him. Fun fact, Tom DeLonge is convinced that aliens exist, which is the name of a popular song by Blink-182, but it's also his actual belief. Nick, have you identified any responses that you'd like to shout out?
We got... Terry Cherry says one of the original Superman, Christopher Reeves, was always so inspiring. I feel like some of these things, though, like, are they inspiring? You're like, I feel like he was just attractive. That's what you're like, oh man, that guy's hot. Lurk Loves You says Bruce Lee. Never heard of him. Manny G.E says Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Spyro Basey Cake says Tom Brady until he just retired too early. And Raph says Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal has some great clips. There's some. I mean, the internet's just filled with great Steven Seagal clips. It's him doing karate, but he's not even like doing anything. It's like floating hands in the air, basically, and people are just like collapsing in front of him.
He's an inspiration.
LeVar Burton, I can get behind that. We got the Reading Rainbow from Jay Lettuce Wrist, and that's one. You know, I'm gonna be honest, because I was thinking about it. I also don't have. I didn't look up to necessarily celebrities as inspiration. More so, just like it was like TV. If you watch TV, there were cartoons that I enjoyed. I'm sure if I had met some in person, like the Ninja Turtles, big fan of them. Could I have met the Ninja Turtles in person? I could have dressed someone in a costume or met someone in a costume. But yeah, I don't have any of those. So I'm like struggling for ones that I like. What was the connection? Michael Jordan obviously was an inspiration to people.
He won 6 championships. It was a pretty impressive feat. No one had ever done it before. 2 three-peats. So a lot of people look at that and they say, wow, he accomplished something incredibly great. That's inspiring to me. Perhaps I can do something great with my life too, because he showed me that it's possible to do things that no one had ever done before.
I just always felt that within me. You know, that was something that just like pre-existed.
That's good. That's great.
And my mom always said, you can be whatever you want to be. What that led to was a life of ADHD, searching in different directions and chasing the next shiny object. But regardless, throughout all those journeys, I still felt deep within that I had the potential. And everybody, you know, every millennial, solid millennial now believes that they have the potential and that they should be paid for that potential.
Well, there you go. Look, to kind of dive right into it, and we appreciate everybody's responses. We'll continue to shout them out throughout the show. I want to hear from Spencer, Kicks, Easy, Signal, and Nick, everybody about what they think's going to come with today's FOMC meeting. I mean, you're all of a sudden seeing everybody who's anybody say sell and say this is a dead cat bounce, this, that, and the other thing. What do we make of what's going on? I had a couple of NFTs sell overnight, and NFTs are literally the most illiquid things of all time, at least in the digital asset ecosystem. Easy, what did you discuss on the morning show? What was kind of your angle today?
Yeah, a lot of people somewhat bearish, to be honest. I think the 25-point BPS hike is expected. A lot of people speculating that's the move. Jobs report, I believe, came in at 106, not 109, which was expected. So SPX, though, is rallying, which is usually a good sign. Yeah, I don't have too much other than that. Seems like it's been kind of the consistent conversation around it.
Well, Spencer, I'd imagine you have some thoughts. I'd be curious to know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think Easy's right here. Like, I think 25 basis points is priced in. And I think that's what we're going to get. Like, they'll say that there'll be some sort of movement. Cool. That's not really the story of today. The story of today is going to be how the forward guidance is looking, what the conversations are going to be in the press conference. Again, I think one of the things I actually will disagree with one thing Easy said, which is that I don't think you should be watching the S&P too closely today. There's going to be a lot of volatility. And one of the reasons for that is that there's a lot of capital that just doesn't trade during the FOMC meetings. And so the capital that does trade will often do a lot of, like, for lack of a better term, like whale shenanigans in the public markets. Like, the time that you can do that is when there's the least just volume, which is during the most volume, which is during the FOMC meetings. And so I think a very fair thing here is to not participate, right? Like, you saw the last Fed meeting. There was just these huge swings, and we'll see them in ETH too. I think unless you're really trying to trade those swings and you think you know something that other people don't, like, the best move usually is to just wait for things to settle down a little bit. I expect the Fed to come out with the 25% basis rate hike, but then come out very strong with a very negative sentiment in the press conference, as they've been doing. We kind of know the Fed's been trying to cause a recession. There's nothing more bullish for the economy than a recession, though. So for our bags, rather, because once you have the economy recession, that's when there eventually will be a path of light towards seeing them sort of stop to increase and start to decrease interest rates. There's the scenario of a soft landing that's been sort of discussed or priced in. I don't really think that's happening. I think there's close to a 0% chance of a 0% interest rate hike. But if there's a 0% hike, then we go to Valhalla. I think conservatively, ETH could be at 3,000 if there's a 0% interest rate hike today. And I know that's crazy to say, but I think that's in the cards. But this is in the context of, I think there's a 0% chance that we see that happening.
And maybe that's what's crazy to say. I think look, that what you're talking about is fascinating. People have been speculating that there will be an investable bottom at some point this year. Reminder, we're 14 months out from the next Bitcoin halving. So definitely plenty of time, full calendar year, and then some to actually, get there. Kicks, I don't know. You're always, maneuvering in the market. What do you make about where we're at and some of these things that people like Michael Burry and others are talking about?
Yeah, I think we definitely get 25 bips. I think basically, like, the tone, will be like we're making progress, but we're going to have to keep interest rates up high for a while so that commodities don't come roaring back, which they're already trying to start to do. But yeah, I don't think that there's going to be anything that they say that really freaks out the markets. Like, one thing I was thinking is actually maybe we pump off of the Fed meeting and then correct when, like, reality sets in with, like, earnings and some other just, like, actual bearish news out there, right? Like, I feel like we're getting to a point where the Fed meetings, like, aren't going to cause crazy meltdowns anymore. And actually, I think that what's probably max pain is for all of these people that are, like, thinking that the Fed meeting is going to be the top, which makes sense. maybe it just keeps running up longer and traps some more people in before we correct. I was also thinking that if you want to bet that, I don't know, I think there's other bets than like shorting the market if you think that there's more volatility ahead, right? I think that's kind of the trap that you can fall into, is to go into all cash or like shorting the market. Maybe instead you like long commodities or something like that. But I think the Fed is very aware that they can't if they start to reverse the cuts too soon, I think inflation just comes back really, really, really strong. And I think they want to avoid that. But I think the market has already had a lot of time. It's been a while since the last hike. I think they've had a lot of time to price in, like, okay, we're going to go up 25 basis points and a couple of more hikes after that. So, yeah, I was thinking yesterday, because my sell signal is going to be Dogecoin doing a massive pump, and it only pumped like 10% yesterday. And I don't feel like that's the normal kind of top signal that we get from Dogecoin. So, yeah, I think there'll be some, volatile price action around it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just keep drifting upwards a little bit after the meeting, and then something else could set reality in, right? It could be bad CPI numbers, right? Something like that is the actual catalyst for us to go back down. And this Fed meeting, maybe we just go up a little bit after.
It seemed like Nicky Soprano had some thoughts. He picked up the mic. Do you have something to add on to what Kick said, Nick?
I felt like the microphone just felt like it made sense relative to the outfit that I'm wearing. But I also was mentioning the Doge thing. Kicks, you weren't here yesterday, but I was commenting on your call on Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? Whatever the day was when we were talking about Doge originally, and was expecting that pump. And to your point, it didn't exhaust the level that I don't know, you would anticipate like a major run up. So I'm feeling the same. I was speaking with our accountant yesterday, and now taking financial advice other than tax advice from an accountant, usually not the way to go. But this accountant also happened to have an NFT bag. So not your normal accountant. And we were talking about it. He was of the mindset, he was enjoying, he was saying, hey, I'm kind of bullish here. I think we run up through the meeting because everyone's already anticipating, like, unless they come with something that's significant, it's probably priced in already, the anticipation of a 0.25% interest rate hike. 0.5% probably would result in some pullback, and we could see things dump. But as long as we have, there's definitely volatility going into it throughout the day, and then during the announcement, all the bots sort of trade off that. But I kind of like this perspective, and when we were chatting, my finger started creeping towards the buy button right after I had sold yesterday. I'd sold a large portion of my ETH just because I have a decent amount.
Exchanges just love you, dude. You're just chopping in and out. They're just taking these $100 fees.
I was looking at my position. I had bought in at like 1,200, a decent amount, and I kept buying up. And then I was just like, you know what? I'll keep buying, and the market was booming. What's so interesting is that the market like feels like this thing that the Fed is trying to like hold back, basically.
Don't fight the Fed, baby.
But without their commentary, it wants to go up. That's the thing that I think is so interesting right now, is we just had this like temporary run. I also will say that Marin was like clear skies until April, when she was talking about, and she wasn't necessarily talking about the market. I don't know what her latest market update is, but I remember she was talking about, pursue your dreams pretty much during.
Pursue your dreams, man. Long GameStop. We're taking.
Pursue your dreams until April. Then give up on your dreams after that.
That was then you quit. Like, stop working out in April. Most people won't make it to April. I think now's the time for me to start going to the gym, because I'm assuming that initial run. Did you make it to the gym yesterday, Pio?
Yes.
And so has the initial rush worn off already?
What do you mean the rush? Oh,
Like the flood of people that are there on New Year's.
and that's why you haven't been going, right, Nick? Because of
That's
the
the
New Year's
reason.
resolutioners.
Yeah.
Because it's too crowded. Like, I'll see you over there today.
Like it's fully
Nick
gone
has
already.
a really intense superset routine, and if there's too many people in the gym, then he's
It's
not
annoying.
able to
Yeah,
get.
it's super annoying.
Yeah.
I don't want to conflict with all those temporary weightlifters. I'll just use my own home gym. But like legitimately is 100% of that gone?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I mean, there's still a solid amount of people that go to the gym, but
Yeah.
the resolutioners are gone. There's no more people like assembling like, apparatuses at the gym that you've never seen the person before and they're wearing jean shorts. Those people are gone.
Yeah. Well, I maybe I'll start showing up again because it's been an issue for me. I just don't like interacting with those people, and that's been the reason I haven't been going.
Okay, well, fair enough. We'll circle back on that. Signal has your hand raised. Then I want to hear from Spencer. We had some commenters, Irish over here said quarter, basically 25 basis points won't move the market. But some serious Jay Powell comments will. He will make some hawkish comments to rein in the market. I saw Spencer pointing to it. I think Spencer's probably in agreement. Signal, what's on your mind? Then we'll go to Spencer.
Yeah, no. First of all, those gymmers, they're still at my gym. I give them another 2 weeks, and then you've got a good window until about May. And then the summer crowd carb, they're the most annoying because they're panicking to get a summer body, or what they don't realize is that it's too late. Onto the Fed, though. Pretty much agree with everything that Spencer and Kix were saying here. However, I think, so in the short term, we see the sort of 25 to 50 basis point move. But I think we do see that pullback that Kix was talking about as we go into the earnings season results. And also, there's more of sort of a having to look at what's going to happen with commodities and what's going to happen as a result of China opening as well. I think that is definitely something people are not really thinking about, and where inflation is actually going to reset. We're not going to go back to the levels that we had before COVID. So I think like the market needs to also think about, do we end up staying at say 4%? And that's just sort of becomes the new normal. And then also today, in terms of volatility, it's probably going to be more on the retail side. The institutionals have already, I imagine, taken their positions. Obviously, they invest for longer term capital. So all the volatility that we see today, I imagine, would mainly be coming from the retail. So like we could see this big leg up, but then we see that pullback come down as we go into February.
Yeah, I mean, love the take. Spencer, are you on the same page as Sig, or what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think like as was said, the thing that matters here is this forward guidance and everything else. I think we will likely see an initial rally. Like if I had to bet, if and when they say 25 basis point hike, like there is some % chance that it's 50, right? And so that is priced in, even if it's 10% probability, right? Then there should be at least like a corresponding, like, what's the difference in outcome between, let's say if you think, okay, there's a 50 basis points hike, we go to like $1,300 ETH, right? Like, let's say that's your prediction. You think there's a 10% chance of that, then 10% chance. So that's like a $200 swing. There's a 10% chance. So that should be $20 priced in. So we could see a $20 swing on ETH, right? Like that's just to give you a concept of what the math is around what the difference here is. And that's how you should be thinking about this, right? Is like take the numbers that you think would happen, plug them in. What do you think happens with the 25 basis point hike? What do you think happens with 50 basis point hike? What happens with the 75? What happens with the 0? Put your probabilities on them, multiply the difference in the price of ETH from there to there. And that should be your expected value of ETH, right? Like that. And that's what the market is, right? The market is just a sum of all the expected values of ETH. Now, the thing that I think is the question mark here is like, we kind of already went through the same cycle in crypto where like, post 3AC liquidation, post Terra Luna, right? It just felt like there's at least one more domino that was going to be big that fell, right? Did we know it was going to be FTX? No, but it felt like there was something else, right? You got to remove yourself from a moment from crypto, right? Like that is how the public markets currently feel. We're like, there isn't technically a recession yet or whatever, right? Like there is still feels like there's a big leg down left before going up, right? The problem is there hasn't been a leg down in 12 years. And so like really what we're contending with is like, even if everyone's got these longer time horizons, no one's panicked about this recession that's going to last 5 years, right? Because we haven't had a recession last 5 years in like 30 years, which means even most people on Wall Street weren't alive the last time we had like a 5-year recession, right? And so this is why, like, this is what the Fed is contending with, and this is why I agree. They're going to come out with some really scary, doom and gloomy sounding stuff because they're trying to cause the recession, right? And so, like, does this matter? I don't know, but like, you know, I think NFTs are in an interesting spot. If ETH runs too hard, like, it's bad for NFTs right now, right? We like being range bound. If ETH pulls back, it's also probably bad, right? We've had up ETH and up NFTs together for a short period of time. That usually doesn't last very long, right? So the like, if you're like sitting in NFT bags, the thing that is best for your bags today is this is a total nothing burger. Everything's priced in, and we just kind of crab walk on ETH price for like for a month or two longer. But you know, I think that there's still a lot more pain to be felt in public markets, and they're highly correlated, right? And so, you know, this is where, how do you feel comfy today? You feel comfy, I think, sitting in a fair amount of stables, right? Like, this is a thing. Talk about what institutional capital does. Institutional capital de-risks into Fed meetings. That's like a very common thing. Unless your strategy is to trade Fed meetings, a lot of funds and hedge funds will take big hedges heading into Fed meetings, right? You can't necessarily hedge so easily in NFTs. So the way that I think that you should hedge into something like a Fed meeting is just sitting in stables. Now, that was better to start doing a couple days ago. You're going to see, like, in the hours, minutes leading up to the Fed meeting, there's like this mini capitulation event where everyone's like, oh man, I should have been in stables. Like, that's not the time to be going into stables, right? Because everyone's trying to do that. So if you're sitting here feeling overexposed, you could trim, you could do it. I'm not going to say do one way or the other, but like, remember this feeling a week before the next Fed meeting, right? And that's your time. 2 weeks, a month before the next Fed meeting. That's your time to start entering your stables position.
Nick's got a smile on his face. What are you thinking about, Nick? I didn't think that was a funny take from Spencer.
No, it wasn't. I saw a tweet that popped up, and it was just the most hilarious gif. My apologies. I just saw this show up of I've never seen.
I want to see the gif now.
Hold on, let me pull this up. This is the most ludicrous thing that I've basically ever seen. It's of a let me see if it'll let me even load this. Well, I don't know. I'll pull it up. But the bottom line, it's nothing it's nothing that important.
I mean, Spencer's not wrong that the time to sell was like a week and a half ago, like straight up.
Well,
if it goes down from here,
I think Spencer is right about volatility. I don't think that like, I don't know. I feel like we're all trying to figure out all that I see from the market is it's like on edge, and it's like, oh, maybe this was temporary. And it's sort of like, well, the market is a reaction of like the collective perception of where things are headed. And right now the collective perception is one which is not as bullish. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here. And maybe I'll be able to also figure out how to share my damn screen at some point so you can see the ludicrous gift.
It's okay. Your laugh's all I need. It's one of my favorite things. Just hearing you laugh.
So here's what happened. This was the gift. Let me describe it real quick.
Yeah, describe. That's usually the best way to share
hold on.
gifts.
It's good. Yeah, okay, I'll share it. Ready? Give me 1 sec. So the it says I'm sharing it, but it's not showing on here. So
maybe
you have to describe this. I think it'd be great. I've never heard someone describe a gift.
Let me just say what it is. So there's a wrestler that has a guy sitting in a. What's the thing that you lay someone down on when they're injured and you like strap them to it?
A stretcher.
A stretcher. Picking it up over his shoulder and slamming it into the corner of the ring, basically. And I'm just like, how in any way do you not get injured having this situation happen?
Well, was he fully strapped in to the stretcher?
It does appear, yeah, that he's fully
I know
stretched.
the exact GIF you're talking about too. It's the Big Show slamming Rey Mysterio into a corner of a WWE ring. I know.
Yeah,
I saw the
so-
same exact tweet I had to.
Like, how does that not injure the person? I'm just confused about what that scenario was. But it's a ridiculous situation. Here
So
we
anyways, are we the market? Is the market the guy in the stretcher, and Jay Powell is the wrestler?
go. Is this
slamming?
showing on the screen?
Yeah, just pull up the GIF and we'll pull it back up. Yeah, I am curious too what the GIF applies to. It
It's
is
there.
funny. Oh, it is. Well, right now we have this, Nick.
Oh, my bad. All right. Well,
Get it ready and we'll bring it back. But anyway, that's hilarious. So we got Espresso on stage. Crypto Espresso, a mispronunciation of the Italian coffee drink, says that you're a Spaces host, you're a degen, you're an alpha hound, and you're a builder. You have your hand raised. You requested to speak. What's on your mind, amigo?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the post from Elio. I know you guys are boys with Elio. He talked about how starting this month, the Fed is about to change how inflation is calculated. So instead of taking the data for the past 2 years, they're only taking from 1 year, which is basically 2022, which is like the worst economic crisis that they're calculating. So how do you guys feel like that, it changes your guys' perception of what happens today or in the future? Because they're not calculating 2 years, which they've been doing for a long time. They're calculating just 1 year, which is comparable to 2022. So that's like one of the worst years. So I don't know if that changes anybody's perspective, since they actually just changed the rules and now inflation is going to be easier to qualm because they're comparing it to one of the worst years we've been in. I don't know. What's your guys' take on that?
Well, first of all, fantastic question, fantastic contribution, Espresso. Thanks for joining the show. I did not see the tweet by Elliot, but he is all over it when it comes to macro stuff. He has researchers and he's got a fantastic understanding of that stuff. So I definitely think that whatever he was talking about is relatively well informed. Spencer, it looked like you wanted to chime in on Espresso's question.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, the Fed, very, very smart people. Lots of numbers that they look at, right? This headline inflation is something they report. But really, if you're asking, like, what does the Fed actually look at to be like, oh, how's inflation doing? Are they looking at one number? Like, definitely not, right? But what they report versus what they look at for their own guidance is totally different. And again, the biggest thing about the Fed is forward guidance. If you remember, go back to Jay Powell's like comments like 2 years ago, where he was like, oh yeah, like if the US government releases like a digital dollar, like it'll make Bitcoin obsolete, right? When he said that, there's no way he believed that, right? This man, if you ever hear him talk in private, this man is brilliant when it comes to digital currencies, Bitcoin, crypto, right? What he was practicing there was, can he say something that moves the market on Bitcoin? And the answer was yes. Bitcoin was down like 10% that moment he said those words, right? And so they're doing the same thing here, but with the public markets, right? Like, they may change the way they report the numbers, they share the numbers publicly, but does this really change the internal perception? No. And this is the game they're playing, right? This is what we're saying is, like, they're going to come out and try and make you feel as bearish as possible. Why? Because more impactful than actually raising the interest rate, because there is some limit to where they actually want to raise the interest rate, is they want the markets to be reined in. They want them to feel like something bad's going to happen. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Are they playing games like this where they may, report different numbers that look worse? For sure, right? But like, the thing that you got to like wrap your mind around is that is a distinct exercise. That is impactful, but distinct exercise from them actually making policy decisions. They'll make policy decisions not based on random numbers that they've changed. They're going to make policy decisions based on, take a step back, look at what the actual plan here is. The plan is to crash the economy, cause a recession. That hasn't happened yet. They're going to do everything in their power to do that without actually structurally ruining the economy, right? And so this is where, like, they're going to make you feel as bearish as possible while just doing the thing everyone expects them to do, which is increase this interest rate by a smaller amount.
And Nick, you grabbed the mic. I didn't know if you want to add on.
Well, it's actually a completely different subject matter I wanted
That's
to
okay.
discuss.
I just want to bask for a moment in Spencer's take. I thought it was a fantastic response to Espresso. If I boiled it down, Spencer, would you say they're going to do what they want to do and they'll figure out a way to do it? Meaning the Fed?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, the thing here is that if they want to crash the economy, with like they're trying to crash the stock market is like a distinct exercise from their impact on the economy with interest rates. And like, when you get that in your head, it's a lot easier to understand what they're doing, right? And watch, the minutes will be so distinct and so different in tone from the press conference.
I love it. Nick, please go ahead. Subject change. Let's rock and roll. Nikki Soprano.
Well, the Doodles situation is the one that I wanted to address. So Kick shared some of the volume that has occurred. Now, the Doodles 2, there's two things going on with Doodles 2. One is the Doodles 2 assets, by and large, are custodial managed, from my understanding, based on something that Poopy Cat tweeted out yesterday.
Correct.
And then the volume that's been done was what, $18,000? Is that what Kick's just the number that Kick's mentioned? That to me, are we saying that that's a good thing? Is that feels like a low number? Am I wrong about that? Am I reading that wrong?
Kicks, any thoughts on that? You're muted.
He's muted.
Yeah, sorry. I was just re-pulling up the weather report. No, the volume for the beta passes, came in at 13,000.
What? So I don't even understand the whole structure. Maybe there's someone that can actually that has a deeper understanding of the Doodles ecosystem. But sorry, so there's a beta passes. Is that different than the duplicators? And then you also got what are the boxes that you were buying, Kicks?
Genesis boxes. Maybe I should have sold some more of those.
So we got Genesis.
I thought my Genesis box, I was gonna get some of these dope shoes for $1,500. I thought that's what I was gonna get out of these things. I'm kind of confused too.
No, that's what the artifact thing. I thought we get shoes, but
Signal. You activate the duplicator, and out of that there was the beta pass and the wearables.
Okay, so there are clothes that you get as well.
There are codes there, yeah.
And those are real clothes, not digital wearables.
No, they're digital wearables.
Wait. Are the beta packs the boxes? Is that the same thing?
No, apparently not.
That's where we're equally confused. So the boxes, nothing's happening with the boxes yet. The duplicators are spitting out beta passes and clothing.
So I knew they were doing that.
And I don't think they're digital wearables because they're kind of 2D. It'd be hard to kind of put it on in the metaverse.
So my understanding is that these traits will be, you can impose them on like Doodles 2, right? So the duplicator, you duplicate the traits on Doodle 1. I think the boxes are like trading card packs of the traits as well. And then you will get like a base character, which that might be the beta passes, though I'm not sure. You'll get a base character, and so you can build your doodle based on these traits. I'm actually surprised, essentially the stuff that sold yesterday was the super rare Doodles stuff didn't sell that high, right? I think the highest sale was $1,500. And if you think about a secondary collection, essentially, a top rarity from a secondary collection, which is what you get if you have the rare items from Doodles 1 you can put on it, right? Let's say, I don't know how many clothing items, there's probably shoes, jacket, pants, maybe hat, maybe backpack, maybe 5 items, right? So a fifth of a super rare tier secondary collection, that's implying, let's say, times 5, so that's 1,500 times 5. If you got all the rare stuff to put on it, that's $7,500 bucks. It's an ETH and a half for the rarest Doodles 2 is a little bit surprisingly low to me. I could be wrong though, right? I'm not as into this ecosystem as some other people are, but I would have expected some of the super rare traits to go for much more than that.
Yeah, it seems like the sum isn't greater than the parts.
Oh, there we go. That was good. This is such a weird situation, basically, primarily because the fact that we're all confused is not a good sign. That said, the approach that they're using, I went from being incredibly bearish. I had sold my Doodle for 6.2 ETH or something like that. I think is the whatever low they were at. I think I ticked the low, the local low, which is perfect. That's right up my alley. But simultaneously, or I went from being as bearish as possible to and not understanding the future of the NFT space, to all of us now sort of collectively realizing the future is with, you know, accessible NFTs, making them free, etc.
No gas.
No gas. No gas, no all gas, no brakes, as they say. So the in terms of like the next phase of this, Doodles is just going through like they're trying to make it more accessible, but in the process somehow making it way more confusing, and that to me is a bearish transition. That is something that I think they need to consider. Is like, they're right about having no gas. What I'm interested in, though, is like watching whatever the UI is for people to like go and leverage these Doodles too, essentially. And for now, to Spencer's point, maybe there is an arbitrage opportunity here. Maybe maybe some of those rare traits are worth a lot more. I saw someone else say that you have to like borrow someone's doodle in order to like use the duplicators, basically. And so and I'm assuming you're burning the duplicator in the process of getting these other items. So it's single use items. So there's a burn dynamic there for the duplicators. Am I is that a correct assessment?
Signal has her hand raised. Signal, I don't know if you have insight on that.
No, I don't know about whether they're being burnt, but that previous comment about you, essentially, if you have a duplicator but you don't have a doodle, you can the doodle holder can put a sell and say, look, if you want to use my duplicator, this is how much it would cost. Or if you have a duplicator, you need to rent a doodle, then you can put an offer. And that's probably one of the most innovative things out of this entire drop, is that they have this collection of the duplicators, and they're essentially bringing more liquidity to the collection by actually inputting this sort of renting, this sort of renting function where you can use your duplicator even if you don't have a doodle, which I think is pretty smart. I think in terms of the confusion, maybe there's just confusion because we're used to Doodles operating in the Ethereum layer 1 ecosystem where everything has just been done on Blur or OpenSea, and this move to Flow, a lot of people have not done it. A lot of people have not used it. But I think if you're asking an outsider who has never done anything with NFTs to go and use the Gaia marketplace, what their experience is, they probably wouldn't find it confusing at all. Because I think what we do is than just getting a credit card, buying some crypto off Coinbase, and then essentially just going into a custodial wallet. I think that sounds a lot simpler.
Okay, so in order to do this, you use the Gaia marketplace. That's GAIA. Do I find this just by Googling Gaia marketplace?
It's the NFT.
No.
Oh,
So
there
if
you go.
you go
NFT
on-
marketplace on. There you go. Now trading Doodles too.
Yeah, if you go on Doodle's Twitter account, their pinned tweet has the links to all of the collections. So the Doodle 2 wearables and the beta passes as well.
So it's on Gaia.com. I mean, you got to check out these wearables. Like, I mean, the socks are, it's all socks on the floor. These are pretty basic wearables. I mean, they fit the style, to be fair. But you're buying these socks, and for $19, to Signal saying, well, this makes it easier for the end user. What average person is going to go and buy a pair of socks on here, though? So, like that's a bigger issue for me here.
My thing is, yeah, the flag I would throw is if the intention behind this is to onboard people that aren't already in the NFT space, I don't think that digital clothes is the #1 angle that they'll understand, you know, versus like, say, free to play fantasy sports or something like that. Like, obviously referencing So Rare, our sponsor, I just referenced them because a lot of people already play in fantasy sports leagues that are for money. And the idea that you could like sell a player is probably like an interesting angle for somebody. I don't think somebody that already doesn't understand digital scarcity and digital value is going to jump in and be like, let me buy some digital socks for $20 when those are more expensive than the socks I'm wearing on my actual feet. Easy. What do you make of the Flow blockchain thing? Obviously, you're a guy that has paid attention to basically every NFT and crypto ecosystem, every chain. You're aware of it. You've traded like Aptos NFTs and things like that. What's your kind of unbiased opinion as someone that doesn't hold Doodles, that doesn't have any sort of like, motivations for yay or nay towards this move? What do you make of these recent updates? You're muted. There we go.
It's tough to say. Like, I mean, Flow is definitely an interesting market because it has an existing community base with Top Shot and everything else going on over there. So they definitely have users and like an existing foundation behind it, which helps give them some form of edge. I like seeing the sales. Like I was talking to Frenelations late yesterday about it. There's a bunch of sales over 1,500, which is a great sign. But the tough part is it's like they have an existing community on ETH who feels negatively about Flow to an extent. So like you have that kind of back and forth, which for me, you kind of have to draw some separation there on figuring out how do you get people excited for it. Obviously price goes up, gets people excited. But what's also interesting to me is that DAI is like the primary currency on it. Like it's a stable coin, which is cool and all, but like that's interesting because now it's like another currency people are going to have to get used to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there is, the thing, like the flag that I would throw is at the end of the day, I understand relationships, like previous relationships can influence, what behavior people put forward in business moving forward. I just wonder if Poopy, the founder of Doodles' relationship with Flow played a big part in this. I mean, you have to imagine that it
Oh, it
did.
absolutely did.
And you have to imagine if that influencing the decision of such a notable big time business in NFTs, is the right move, right? Especially when you see, like, for example, Polygon being on such a hot streak, getting the Reddit NFTs, Utes, the Trump NFTs. Doesn't seem like it's slowing down. Seems like they have a good system, set up. I just wonder if this was the right angle. And then when you kind of compound that with the fact that I just don't think that you're going to onboard people through digital clothes that are more expensive than their actual clothes when they already don't get the whole thing. That's kind of the tough thing for me. So yeah, that's kind of like what my initial reaction is. But who knows? We'll have to see what happens. Yeah, like Easy. What do you make of the Flow specific thing? Like what do you make of that? Like, are you concerned about Flow being the blockchain?
A little bit, because it's also just like, where's the volume? Like everything at the end of the day comes down to volume. And that's kind of like the big thing. So like, depending on where volume cycles in, and if volume can maintain, that's the positive sign for it. But volume needs to continue here. Like the momentum needs to stay. And I just worry that because it's now on this secondary chain from Doodles being on ETH, how do you continue to get people excited? And that's kind of my like bigger concern. I think Flow's fine. Like it's handled tons of transactions. It's handled a ton of volume. We saw Top Shot just kind of like kick off the NFT bull run in December 2020 when NFTs really got a ton of appeal. So I think that helps, but I almost feel like it's going backwards to go forward. Like what stopped them from doing these on Polygon, which a lot of people would have probably been more comfortable with. And now it's like bridging to a completely separate chain.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. Nick, you have the mic, something to chime in with?
Not really. I mean, I think my take from before is the one that stands. Look, we have our own approach to what we think, is necessary in order to onboard people into this space, and that's what we're working on ourselves. I think everyone has their own spin on it, and I think inevitably, from our end, it's in our own way, but I also think that there's like large games and other things which inevitably end up utilizing these like they're going to be the things that end up actually deploying. Like if Fortnite deployed an NFT platform, well, suddenly you're going to see millions of people using NFTs, and that would dwarf anything that's been done up until this moment. It's an uphill battle for people what Doodles is trying to do, frankly, I give them credit for, but it's tough. And why is it tough? Because basically they went from essentially targeting a niche audience of people who like flipping NFTs and thought the art's cool, to essentially now trying to say, we're going to build a product for the masses. And that's just a hard jump to make, basically, in terms of making that transition occur. And so, yeah, that's what's really difficult. I give them credit for making an attempt to do these things. And it's hard when I think the disappointment that we feel and the bearishness that comes out of us, because I feel like it's been negative for a couple of days here. We talk about negativity around, or at least I did, about the open edition artists. I now look at this and I feel something else negative. And yet simultaneously we say in private, we say, well, it's hard to, like, it's not a healthy thing to be fudding basically the only people that are attempting to do something in this space, because there's not enough people in this space at this moment in time. And so we need more people at least experimenting and trying to do it. Where I think the negativity from us comes from sometimes, and I speak for myself with this, is when some of those people and teams disappoint us. They fall short of what our expectations are. And I'd say in this case with Doodles specifically is like, who the fuck is going to buy these digital socks that look like it took 5 minutes to draw? Like, straight up, that's like the feeling when I look at this page. And I say, yes, let's go do something that's more accessible. Damn, you're trying to sell like basic ass looking digital socks. Why are people spending money for that? Well, so yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I mean, I'd like to resolve that, but or like I'd like them to see them resolve it. And after me having fudded them, extensively, not even that much. I didn't even FUD them until I started getting some backlash over unrelated statements. But
we all remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting place for Doodles at this moment. The reason that I bring them up is they're the only people that are honestly doing anything interesting in this space other than that. And then you got the ape, the Bored Ape game going on right now. I got a new mouse yesterday and I got a high score as a result of using that mouse. And we also have the pro gamer hit another all-time score. I think he's at 850,000. There's no doubt he's going to hit 1 million before this game is over.
868 was what I saw last night.
Yeah. I mean, props to him. I think it's pretty cool that
he's a pro. He's a professional.
And I think that it's cool that pro gamers are operating in this space. That's probably some of the most bullish news that I've seen, because we talk about gaming and there's a lot of like hate that goes on towards Bored Ape Yacht Club with this game. Look, the name Dookie Dash is like childish. There's some stuff which I debate about the branding, but I also kind of liked it because it's edgy. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think that these are some of the key like initiatives that are being done, and we need to do more to sort of elevate any company, frankly, that's doing that. Not that Doodles and Bored Ape Yacht Club need our assistance individually, like our show, but I think holistically, it's worth shouting out whether or not the execution succeeds. It's worth giving some praise even to Doodles in this case for at least making an effort, because it's not easy to do this. Their approach to it does feel a little bit complicated and inaccessible to the average person, but props to them.
Yeah, I mean, and keep in mind, Mongrel, just on the subject of that guy, Mongrel, the esports player, he's got 4.5 million subscribers on YouTube, over 5 million subscribers on Twitch. If you want to talk about, people actually onboarding new individuals, getting attention in the space, this is basically the best, the single best angle that you can take.
And for all the kids out there, the upside is you only need to spend $3,000 in order to play this game. So I don't know anything more bullish than that.
I wrestled with I was trying to think through. I didn't have enough time to think through it, but I was trying to think through if there was any other way for Bored Ape Yacht Club to do it besides you need to buy the NFT to play the game. I didn't have enough time to think through it properly. I'd imagine that there was. Bunny's had his hand raised. Bunny, something to chime in with?
Yeah, well, first, there's been 4 sock sales in the last 30 minutes. So Nick, way off on that. These things are flying off the shelves. But just to be like devil's advocate, Polygon stole all the headlines lately, but Flow has had some pretty big deals secured. I mean, they have Mattel, NBA, NFL, La Liga. I think there's another one too, Ticketmaster. So I don't know. They have some pretty good Web2 deals.
Little bit of devil's avocado from Bunny.
Well, good luck to them. The one thing I just want to bring it back real quick. Last comment on this Bored Ape thing. Pio, yeah, there's obvious ways to do it. I think this is what we're thinking about as well. There should be the same way as Fortnite. You can go into Fortnite as a free player and become the top player without paying anything right now.
Yep.
That's a possibility. That's the way the game should be able to operate, is that there's a way to compete, but that the apes and other people have a massive advantage when it comes to playing the game. And you ended up delivering value to them. There's people that want to pay for those advantages. We're already seeing that. But I think the way they would have done it is they basically could have made a way for free people to get access. And I think that there's plenty of ways to do that. Or that basically they're operating in a different tier. Anyone can go and play the game. You can participate, and the top 50 people in the free tier end up getting to mint one of the...
I think there's other things too, though, that they could do. Like, say the game ends. What happens if they just give a participation-based like NFT? You know what I mean? Like ways that kind of onboard people, launch as an actual mobile app. Like there's a 1,000 ways I think of ways that like Bored Ape could actually drive additional interest into the space without like a massive revenue generation. They already have the game. Like, how much of a heavy lift would it be to upload it into like an app store?
Well, and because to just expand on this real quick, and I know we got to wrap, ultimately the NFT space, as it's been defined for the past couple of years, has been flipping expensive JPEGs. That's just basically what the NFT space has been about. But I think that there is and that includes art. And not all of them are expensive. I understand they're not all super expensive, but a lot of the attention market-wise has gone to the expensive ones, because people say, why are people paying $100,000 for a picture of a monkey? That's ridiculous. And I think there's a chance that we end up looking back on it and say, yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like that you're telling me that market wasn't sustainable. And there's the possibility that happens. But I think what really needs to happen is all these businesses now need to use the capital that they've been given to actually deploy things that people want to use. And, hint, hint, wink, wink. Web2 already has shown us a lot of those different things. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel as to what consumers want. I don't know that blockchain NFTs necessarily change what consumers desire. I think it's just more about leveraging in a way to repackage it in a way that makes them more aligned. And how can you utilize this to actually expand some of the existing business models that were in place? And that's where we're headed, right? That's the direction that we're going. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. But yeah, I mean, it's it is the future, and some of these companies are going to find a way and others are not. And I think the ones that end up winning and are going to be here 3-5 years from now are the ones that actually figure out the path to get there. Gary Vee is trying to do it with VeeFriends. Is his path the right way? I don't know. I really don't know. And maybe Doodles I mean, they have some wearables that look dope, and I see those actually actively selling right now, and the volume is not that low. So like there's a decent amount of activity. There's some puffer coats and other things that look pretty cool, like spotted hoodie, and some other items. And I'm like, those look cool. What am I going to do with it? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. And the real tough part is going to be seeing, or the real question here is, how does Doodles 2 get delivered in a way that mass consumers are going to be interested in? That's the job at this point, not this one, arbitrary phase in the process. So we'll see what happens.
Good thinking from a business perspective. I know Signal had her hand raised. Signal, something to weigh in on this.
Yeah, no, I know we're running a little bit over time, but I was just going to say on the Dookie Dash thing, I actually disagree that it should have been free to everyone. I think Yuga are being like, these would have been questions which would have come up at the round table. Do we make it closed to the ecosystem or do we open it? And I think by them being closed, it's a very deliberate action on their part, whereby they're trying to test the game within the ecosystem, which is most in their favor. And if they were to mess up, essentially their audience would forgive them on this. And they can learn so much from this, have so much data, see how many new people even decide to play the game, even at the price that it currently is, take all that information and then figure out the path to actually getting mass adoption and bringing in more people. I think given their treasury, they could have easily done that. But they didn't, and they've done it for a very good reason. And like you say, they're trying to figure out the path. I think they're being very intentional on this path. When you go into gaming, they're fully aware that they are up against behemoths and studios and publishers who have years of experience against them. And so they are trying to do what their consumers desire, but I think they're going to take it slower. And I'm really excited to see what Dookie Dash 2 or whatever the next game will be, because I do think then they'll open it up to more people. But I think in this first round of testing, keeping it closed, sort of beta, if you like, to the NFT ecosystem was the right move.
We'll have to see how it all shakes out and what's the right move. I mean, they did attract this massive gamer, so that was that's an absolute home run. Like, if you guys know anything about content and virality, attracting someone like that to participate in anything that you put out as a business is a huge, huge win. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of love to some of the artists here. An artist that has been grinding in the space for quite a while, Arena BB. That's ARINABB. She was featured on this week's Artist Spotlight hosted by Signal. The tweet is pinned to the top. Arena has been in the game for a few years now. This new collection is using what she's calling a paranoid critical method to create the work. So her most popular collection, which is Man Laiz, is an ongoing series of oil and acrylic-based portraits that also live as NFTs on the blockchain. She's expecting it to take 7 years to complete. The Artist Spotlight hosted by Signal, again, is pinned to the top. Artist Spotlight is an initiative that we've rolled out. The single goal of it is to support artists. It's not sponsored. There's no kind of financial benefit to it. It's just singularly to spotlight talented artists in the space and showcase their work. So definitely check out Arena's work. She's a friend of the show, been in the game for a couple of years now on the digital art side, and the Artist Spotlight is pinned to the top. Hope you all enjoyed the show today. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Eastern time, each and every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Check out thenifty.com, THENIFTY.com. to subscribe to our newsletter. We're going to be giving away free NFTs through that. Hint, hint, wink, wink.